Welcome back to the Business Simple podcast. It's your host, James, and today I'm going to be talking you through the hidden blocks in every customer's buying process and how to overcome them so that you can get more conversions. This episode's going to be like these last round of my thoughts ones, where I'm going to just go off the cuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the process I go through when I'm looking at a campaign that's not performing. And probably something that's different about the way that we do things is when something's not performing, what we consider first is the customer and what's stopping them from taking action. We don't go technical, we don't look at data. We go, if I saw this ad, would I buy off it? And then the things we go through that kind of qualify whether we would or wouldn't. So what I'm going to start with is that you're getting scrolled past. The first thing that I would look for when I'm looking at an underperforming campaign like this, the first blockage would be that your ad itself doesn't actually stand out. If you don't capture someone instantly, I've heard people say in the first 10 seconds, the first 5 seconds, the first 3 seconds, it is the first millisecond that you're running the ad. If you don't capture someone then, you will lose them. The probability of you being able to turn that around once someone's already scrolled past you is pretty low. So does that mean more colorful, more professionally shot, a stronger hook in your videos? I don't know. Something that I've been looking at a lot recently is this account, Ashton Hall. He's pretty much doubled his followers. He already had a strong follower base of maybe 6 million through to 12 million was announced yesterday from when I'm recording this. And what he does extremely well is very strong visual hooks. And this is quite a good thing. So if you've seen the videos, you know what it's like. Someone throws him a water bottle or something like that. He's got a very distinct look. He's jacked, so that helps all the time. He's not wearing a shirt or he's sprinting or something like that in the first thing. And what he's doing with that is he's doing something that looks different, feels different, isn't common in comparison with other videos or pieces of content online. And he's doing that in a way where it's going to capture your attention really strongly, and then it's going to leave you in a state where you want to know more of what this is, the piece of content is about. You can do the exact same thing with your ads, right? And so often that first second, it doesn't even need to be the product. It doesn't need to be anything like that. There are certain things that will make an image stand out more. So or more to a specific audience. So like, let's say I'm running an ad with basketball jerseys, but I'm running that to someone who's an avid water polo fan or whatever. They're not going to resonate as well with basketball jerseys as the person will be who follows basketball. So your audience becomes important. And then once you realize what that audience is, you've got to understand what they want to see. If you don't know the answer to that, you need to trial a lot of things really quickly. The next thing we're going to go to, and that means different videos, different images, different designs over them, no designs over some of them, all those sorts of things, and the market itself will tell you if you don't know what they want to see. The next step is you're going to look at, is my message easy to understand? So a lot of people would talk about your copywriting formula, whatever it is, scratch all that. You're going to look at if someone who knows nothing about your business or industry can understand what you're saying in your ad. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that is a super important part. A lot of people do what I would refer to as like low imagination advertising. And so what it is they're just going the shortest route to try to, or the least imaginative way to try to show you that they're really good or whatever. So it might just be like a testimonial of someone saying you're great, or a case study of, I see agency ones all the time where it's like, their ROAS, our ROAS, for example. And they're like, yeah, that's a really good ad because it shows that we're better than our competition. False, because 90% of your customers or the customers that we work with barely even know what ROAS means. So you've had a good idea, you're trying to get it across, but you're not doing it in a way where your target audience even understands it. Sure, some people will get it, and those people will probably respond to it really well. But what about the other 90% of business owners that you also probably want to work with? They're not going to. So is what I'm saying easy to understand? Am I using jargon? Am I using complicated words? Am I writing a lot of copy unnecessarily? Am I repeating myself? Am I doing things like that? If you move all of that away, it's going to increase your engagement rate with your ad. The other thing that I consider at this stage is, does the value exchange seem stacked in the way of the consumer? And so people consider this in a few different ways, but does the person feel like they're gaining more out of interacting with your ad than you gain out of them interacting with your ad? And if that's the case, you will get a higher engagement rate. This can be in a lot of different ways. We use, say, like a guide campaign sometimes to do something like this. The other thing is like, if the opportunity seems really rare and that they're very lucky to be seeing that ad, or if it's tailored specifically for them and it's in a way where the amount of money that they're spending or what you're asking them to do is considerably less than the value that they receive, you're also getting a high response rate. Imagine if you ran an ad, for example, that was like, I would like you to come into my showroom, and the first 10 people that come into my showroom, I will give $100. And how long it would take for you to get those 10 people through your showroom. It would be pretty short because it's a pretty good value exchange, right? If you made it $1,000, it would be even shorter. And if you made it $10,000, it will be shorter once again, because at $100, there is a group of people who go, that'd be really nice, but I probably won't get there in time, and blah, blah, blah. At $1,000, they're like, I'll chance my arm. At 10 grand, they're like, I need to get there ASAP. So you just need to consider that as a part of the way that you're structuring your ads too, is the more perceived value, the higher engagement rate, the more action people are willing to take, the faster they're willing to take it, all of those sorts of things too. The next thing I want you to consider is your call to action strong enough? So we audited an account yesterday. I was sitting in a meeting with the guy and I pulled up their ads and we're going through what they're running, and I was just like, your call to action doesn't make sense here. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you're running an ad with a testimonial, and then your call to action is get in touch. And then when you get in touch, you click get in touch and you go through to a page on your website that has nothing to do with the testimonial or getting in touch with the business. I'm like, think about that from a user experience perspective. That doesn't line up. Whereas testimonial video, hear more from our happy customers through to a page that has all of your testimonials and then a get in touch box down the bottom, user experience is a lot better. So making sure your call to action aligns with your messaging, is easy to understand, and takes people on a really logical journey. I know this stuff sounds so simple, it's not even funny, but it is really important to consider these sorts of things. Now, we're going to go from call to action to the conversion point, right? So often I'm sort of thinking about Facebook ads when I'm going through this process, just because it's the most of what we do. It's what we get asked most about. It's a key part of what we do, and I know a lot about it. The way that you convert the customer, and I've spoken in depth about this on other episodes, is also really important. So making sure that the next step that they take aligns with their expectations, doesn't feel like they're being forced into a thing. Like you don't want the fact that you're advertising and marketing to them to be super obvious. You don't want to feel that way. If you make it really hard at the next step, you're going to lose a lot of people. Humans have a natural thing where they're trying to conserve energy, basically. Calories would be the more specific words. And so when you run complicated advertising or make an inquiry process complicated, people are naturally drawn away from it because they don't want to burn unnecessary energy on the process that you're putting there, especially if they don't know that the outcome's going to be what they desire. So lead forms on Facebook can be a good way to overcome this. I like doing them with qualifying questions, and there's an awesome podcast episode on another marketing podcast of me and Rodrigo discussing lead forms versus landing pages. I like lead forms or landing pages. I have a really strong dislike for driving people through to websites. I think that it makes the process too hard on them. So obviously e-commerce is a different scenario to this, but if you're selling a product or a service, I think you should drive people to a page that only has information around the product or service that you're promoting, with no about the team page to go visit. You should keep that really simple, and a lead form is the simplest version of that, which is why often through lead forms it'll be your lowest cost per lead. The next step you need to go to is to the conversion destination. If your ads aren't working, have a look at that. It may be a part of it. And then going bigger picture and just thinking about this overarchingly, and this is probably a pretty confronting offer or a pretty confronting thing to be talking to yourself about, but is your offer actually any good? Do people actually want to buy off you? Are you biased towards your own product? You're obviously going to be, but are you biased to a level that you would try to sell something that people don't really want and not really listen to customer feedback because it's not being told to you, but you can kind of tell because people aren't engaging with your ads and you're doing all the other stuff I've spoken about earlier? Example of this would be, let's say you are selling mountain bike, right? And there's a few places you can buy this mountain bike, but you're selling this mountain bike and you've got the best service, or you've got something like that in the market, and you're really confident about that. But because of that, you sell the mountain bike for 20% above what everyone else in your market does. You can have the best, clearest copy, the most catchy creative, the strongest headline, the most perfectly aligned call to action, the best landing page, the best form, the best whatever it is. But you're probably not going to get that many leads, unfortunately, because people who want to buy that product probably know what it's worth, and they probably know you're 20% above market rate. You also might have the simplest way possible to overcome that, because there might be a convenience thing you can add or something like that. But typically just the best service in today's day and age isn't going to be the thing that's going to make someone, help them to spend that much extra or do whatever it is. So thinking about your actual core offering to the market, and is it that compelling? There's a few other things to consider, like belief of success and all those sorts of things that your buyers will go through. But honestly, if you run an ad that captures someone's attention instantly, has clear messaging, a strong call to action, a destination that aligns with your call to action, and a good offer, you will win in online marketing. And so if you can go through and just check all those boxes, I think that you'll find that will cover 90% of what you need in order to succeed. All the stuff outside of that is just fluff. And a lot of the way that we win business is by just looking at those things and then going and talking to the business owner about it, because it's easy to understand. They can get a feel instantly for whether they agree with us or not, and then we can go from there. Anyway, that's me on the blockers in your customer journey. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm real into these My Thoughts ones. I'm having way more fun with it now. They're a little bit more relaxed and I'm just able to go off the cuff. So hope you found this valuable. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening.